We filed a lawsuit against our neighbors, and this is being told through videos.
You know what's a shame? We live in Louisiana. I have this beautiful home. Look.
Oh my god, that is beautiful.
We pay hard-earned money. My husband and I work every day
The poor
to earn
swing.
this, to live here. And this is what we have to deal with. Our crazy-ass neighbors who have called the police on us over 27 times for bogus things has decided to put up this fence smack dab in the river.
Oh!
Now today, on Mother's Day, while I sit outside to enjoy this view here in the South, I have to look at this ugly fence they put up solely to block us from utilizing our property.
Insane.
To be able to go fishing with our boys on the river. It wasn't enough that we went to court, the judge threw everything out, said everything was bogus, that now they want to put up a fence so that we can enjoy what we pay every day our hard-earned money for.
There's no way that fence is legal. We got a lot to unpack.
I just want to jump on real fast. Those of you asking for an update, the fence is still there. You can see it right there. It goes along the waterway.
So annoying.
Our properties are a little unique. This is her home. And then the water comes up in between our homes. And then this is my home. So we live on a natural scenic waterway or a river. And this is actually a drainage easement she put the fence up on as well. So there's multiple violations here.
This has to be like the pettiest thing we've ever seen on my channel. The lengths you went to be that petty to put that fence there.
And we are working on having it removed, but we do have to take the proper steps in having it removed. And hopefully we can get something going here soon. But a little backstory, kind of where we come from with all this. We moved here about 3 years ago, and from the day we've moved in, it's been nothing with issues with her. She's called the police on us numerous times, multiple times, over silly things as far as golf carts, music, even as far as the boys fishing in her water and the fishing line, the lure going into her waterway or her water, and she's called the police. We've never received a citation. We've never gotten a ticket. They've always, for the most part, said that there was nothing they could do. And yet we still had continued to get calls. Well, she files what they call peace bond against us. I never knew what that was before. But basically, she wanted us to put up $1,000. And then she had this list of things that she didn't want us doing. And one of them was, say, music or the dogs or jump.
I cannot imagine living like this for 3 years. And I don't think it's gonna get better.
Into the water or the fishing line in the water. If we didn't do any of these things in a 6-month time frame, then we would get our $1,000 back. But if we did, then she got to keep our $1,000. The judge threw that out, and we thought we were finished.
What?
We thought it was over with. He told her basically to leave us alone, and that the things that she was calling on were ridiculous. Well, fast forward to today, it's all started back up again. She called recently about the music, and then you saw my post about the fence, and then yesterday was the Marine police coming out because of the boys causing a wake. So it's a battle, and has been a battle for a long time, and I will keep you guys updated as much as I can, but it's been a ride.
This is going on even after going to court. This is a different level of a Karen.
Oh, here we go again. This time she's got the Marine police here.
Shut up.
Because the boys were riding in the boat behind the house. Not a big boat. This boat.
That's the boat that was causing the wake?
They're allowed to drive at their age. back and forth right here. And they did a little fishing. But she's got to call the marine police.
Literally wants you to not exist in life or have any fun at all. I was like, where did they even have the room to make a wake because of your stupid fence? Wow.
Our neighbors have called the police on us 28 times. Here's the story. We moved into our new home in July of 2020. From day one, there was issues. As we're unpacking our things, our boys want to ride in their kayak that they have owned for a while but haven't been able to use it, and we didn't know it had ants all over it. So because we share a body of water and they just happened to be on her side, they jumped out in her backyard and ran across to me to get the ants off of them. Of course, we apologize and say that we didn't realize it was their property and that it wouldn't happen again. And before you come at me with, how did you not know it was your property? We had just moved in, it was day one, and when they jumped out, the way our properties are set up, it's very unique, and I didn't even see where they had come from. But of course, I apologized and said it wouldn't happen again.
Okay, but also, not the end of the world. Like, the kid reacted, we didn't know any better, and we apologized, and it won't happen again.
Fast forward a couple of weeks, maybe, the boys are playing in the water and in their canoe with friends, and she has her husband come over asking them to get out of her portion of the water.
Portion?
We're like, okay, so we move them out of her portion of the water, but just mainly to keep peace and not cause any issues. We're very new. We don't want any issues. Here is where things start to get real and interesting. Police call number 1, when the boys were swimming in the water a different day with friends again, she called the police saying that they were trespassing into her water. At the time, there was no property stakes or any type of marker showing anything that was her portion of water, even though water, in my opinion, isn't owned. And I should clarify, not just my opinion, in the state's opinion.
Thank you. That was my next question. I'm like, no. Like, I need to know if you can actually own portions of the water.
Or the law, whatever. After that, we had family out over from out of town, and she come out, this was in 2020, saying that we had too many people here and that we were causing too much noise and we needed to have people leave. Which brings us to call number 2. As you can see, and this is where it starts to get even more interesting, we're doing yard work. You can see there's plants all right there. We're adding plants to our garden, and we're using the golf cart to haul plants to and from. She called the police because we were using the golf cart on our own land, in our driveway. She actually made 2 calls this day. One was because we were actually in the street, I guess, with our golf cart. She had pictures of it. And then the other one was because we were using it within our own property. Then came the lawyer letter. Wait till you hear this. She sent us a certified letter from her lawyer saying that if we continue to trespass, actions were going to be taken against us. We had just moved in. It was very, very early on in moving in that this letter was sent. It also said that we were trespassing on a daily basis, not only us, but our kids and our dogs.
I'm so invested and I want to hear the rest, but at the same time, I already have a headache thinking about what you're dealing with on a daily basis. But let's continue.
Our neighbors have called the police on us 28 times, part 2. So we just got the lawyer letter in the mail and we're like, okay, this is real. She has a problem. She doesn't like us. She's a Karen, whatever. But we knew we had, a serious issue next door.
Karen is like an understatement.
Being that this was so early on of us moving in, we kind of felt like it was more of like a scare tactic. This letter, thinking that because she would send this letter to us from her lawyer that we're going to be like, oh man, we should stop living our life. And so that really wasn't the case, though. We kind of understood what was going on here and talked to a few people. We hadn't hired a lawyer at this point, but we needed to. Here is call 3. So on call 3, she called because she said our dogs were in her water and we intentionally threw the stick into her water to antagonize her. Here's our dogs in the water. Clearly you can see them playing. Did a stick get thrown? Possibly. I'm not sure. And were they in what she believes to be her water? Yes, they were. Now, up until this point, we've been nicey nice, right? We have been trying to, keep the peace and not really say much, kind of go with what she's saying until, we had friends over. It was my birthday, actually. And she once again sends her husband over to say that we have too many people. Now, at this point, I'm like, no. We don't have too many people. This is my house. This is my land. This is my right. And I'm not going to send anyone home. I'm not going to tell anyone to be quiet. And we're not going to change our lifestyle for you. She didn't like that very much and came out screaming. Now, at this point, like I said, we have been nice. So I go up to the property line and her and I have words. Of course, I was not nice. She was not nice. It was very ugly. My entire family watched it all go down. And it was pretty intense. And what's crazy is she didn't call the police. But don't get excited because it wasn't over yet. Here is police call number 4. This time over music at 11:30 on a Sunday afternoon while me and my kids were having a dance off.
I thought you were going to say 11:30 p.m. on a Sunday. And I was like, well, maybe depending on, the laws around your area.
On what we call our peninsula, which is where you saw that tree. She called the police because the music was too loud. And she was recording my boys, which I mentioned to the police officer, who said that unless there was criminal intent or there was any type of sexual, I forgot the wording he used, but basically he was saying that there was nothing he could do that because she was recording my kids.
Gotta switch my weight. Sorry about that. Before continuing, I need a freaking sip of water, okay? Because it's sucking the life out of me. Cheers! Grab your beverage of choice. It is water in my cup. Just plain old water. But you should hydrate too. Cheers! Hope you're having a good day. Hope your day is better than theirs because this is Excuse me. They have a bad day every day, apparently. I'm gonna put on Vaseline while we watch the next one. Okay?
Our neighbors have called the police on us 28 times, part 3. I'm actually gonna try to speed it up a little bit because there's so many calls.
By the way, you guys, we are not watching every police call video, just so you know. Don't get scared. I'm not doing that.
That I want to get to the part that is actually pretty crazy. So police call number 5 and 6. 5 was because of loud music, and 6 was because we were driving the golf cart again. And this time, actually, I tried to snippet the police report, but I couldn't get it to where it would fit on the screen. Anyway, the police report actually said, "I'm tired of seeing my neighbor drive her golf cart." And actually, I should state that it wasn't a police report. It's only a call log because there was never an actual report filed because there was never any citations given. Okay, fast forward. Here we are at Christmas time.
They're literally going to block her number. They're like, ma'am, if you keep calling and we see your number coming through,
we're not picking up.
And our boys receive a GNU. Mind you, this thing goes maybe 8 miles an hour, tops. I think I know for sure it's smaller than a 9.9. My little guys rode that GNU back and forth. And we're having so much fun. Until, of course, she calls the sheriff or the police and says that we are causing a wake and eroding her property. She wants it to be a no-wake zone, and that she wants them to come out immediately. Now, she has the Marine Division come out this time. She also calls Wildlife and Fishery. This was in the first week of them owning this GNU. So basically, this sums up 2020. Next up, 2021.
That was all in 2020? You were dealing with stuff pretty much every single day.
And this is where things get super interesting. And so here is 2021, and I have the property lines up here so you can get a better understanding of what I'm talking about. The circle of 5 is my house, so that house is circled, is mine. Then the arrow pointing in the water, that's the little triangle of water that she is saying is hers and that we are in all the time and trespassing. And then the other arrow is where I'm showing you the property line is and where we stood the time that we got in the argument and then upcoming when I tried to make peace. So here we at 2021. My New Year's resolution was going to be to make peace with the neighbors, and I think you can probably go back to a previous video.
Bless you for that being like, I have to make a New Year's resolution to make peace with my Karen neighbor.
Where I talked about this in more detail, but basically I brought fish to the property line that we had just filleted that day from catching them on the river as a peace offering, I guess, to try to make peace with the neighbor, and it was going to be my New Year's resolution. Aww. And it didn't work.
That visual was very helpful. Also, so jealous of your house and your property. It's spectacular.
Okay, here are the text messages between me and my neighbor who's called the police on us 28 times. We tried to make peace back in 2021 and exchange phone numbers, but it just made things worse. Okay, I'm going to summarize these to try to get through them quickly. You can pause it and read it if you want. But basically, we were out of town on this one, and she sent us a text message asking if we knew the boy who was on our property and he was using our kid's boat, and she wanted to let us know. You can see it was on January 7th. We had just went to the property line on January 5th and exchanged phone numbers and tried to talk it out. She sent us a picture of the child using she thought was our boat. And here it is right here. She said, they're using your motorboat right now. Are you good with that? We tell them at the top, see there, that's their boat. And it was their boat. It was our neighbor's grandson. He was actually on our property. We were out of town. And if you see here, again, you can pause it, but I'm going to summarize it. She basically is saying that he's fishing from our property and casting into her water, and she doesn't like it, and she thinks it's disrespectful and trespassing. So she's going to call the police.
She be up in everybody's business. Doesn't matter who.
We didn't find out until we got back from camping that she actually did end up calling the police on this boy. Only reason why we know that is because our other neighbor, whose grandson it was, told us after we got back. Here she just randomly sends us a picture of kids in golf carts. They weren't our kids, but she was basically saying, oh, this is illegal. These kids are looking for your kids, so that's your responsibility.
She's literally so bored. Is she just like a retired older woman at home, just watching everything around her and having a problem with anyone existing? This is crazy.
We tell her to go out there and ask their names. If she's so worried about it, go ask their names. She wants us to ask our kids to identify the kids' names. We were not willing to do that, of course, and told her it was none of our business. Okay, I'm going to read this one to y'all because this is where I told her, well, I'm not the police, nor do I enforce the law in any way, so I'm unsure why you keep messaging me about what you believe to be a problem. At this point, it has become harassment. You have harassed us since we've moved in. You apparently watch our every move and are making it to a point that we cannot enjoy the neighborhood and our home without you having something to say. My children have not done anything to you nor your property, so again, I am not sure why you continue to harass us. Please take your concerns up with someone else. Thank you. Of course, that did not set right with her, and then she says communication will stop, although it did not. Trespassing by your kids, and that includes casting the fishing lines over here. Your dog's coming over here in the water is what she's talking about.
When I tell you, I would lose my mind. Lost. It would be gone. Gone. Oh my God. I'm so invested in this though. Like, I want all these details, every single detail.
Part 2 of text messages from my neighbor who's called the police on us 28 times. Okay, this is kind of a continuation from part 1 where she said communication is no longer going to happen, and any further trespassing into her water and whatnot. You can pause and read here. She talks about a letter that her lawyer sent us back in 2020. I think it was shortly after we moved in. It couldn't have been more than 2 months, where she said her lawyer sent a letter stating that we are, they're saying that they were constantly trespassing into on her land, and she owns her land and the air above her home. And if this continues, then further action is going to be taken. This text message is actually kind of further back before the no longer communicating text came. I just want to show you this because it shows here that she was just telling us that she was cutting some trees down. We're talking peaceful, whatever, trying to be nice. And we've always tried to be nice throughout this whole thing. But here then she goes, please tell your kids not to boat in the water on our side. Thank you. And again, just trying to keep the peace. So we say just did. Then she goes, and not to make wakes too. Thanks. Then after her, we're no longer going to communicate text. Here she says, this is why we asked her how we're breaking the law. You can pause and read, but basically she goes on to say it's because of golf carts and loud music after hours, which is not true. A lot of the things that she says are over exaggerated. For instance, our dogs had gotten out a couple times and just kind of sniffed around our mailbox. Didn't really go much further. We're in the street a little bit. And then she claims to run around the neighborhood wild and out of control. Then she also says that that we're harassing her. After the no communication any longer text, here she comes to say that our son, when he was loading the boat onto the trailer to get it out of the water one day, she said that the back end of the boat went into their water, and that's what they're talking about as far as respecting their boundaries. And then she talks about the stake and hopes she didn't knock it down. Here's the stake she's talking about.
Oh my God.
This one right here. And when the water's high, you couldn't see it, so she was afraid that we were going to knock it down. She actually extended it after that. When the water went down, she extended it higher so you could see it at all times. And then here's another one that she keeps by the driveways to pinpoint where her property is. And one time my son knocked it down mowing the lawn, and that's what she's talking about, that we continually knock down her stakes. And she in court said that cost her $500 to replace. The worst thing about all of this, the only people that are suffering from this is my kids. My kids just want to have fun. They're young. They're having fun playing outside, enjoying the outdoors, not inside all the time. That's why we purchased this property, and it's just a shame that we have to put up with this.
I don't know what type of neighbor she would want living next to her. Like, her dream neighbor would be literally people who don't use the water, don't go outside, and just exist quietly in their own home. That's what she was looking for.
Y'all ready for this tea? I was going to make a part 4, but she beat me to it and added another call. Guess what for?
What?
My TikTok. She said that I had put her daughter on my TikTok. Not true. What? I don't even see her daughter. Shit, she don't even come out of the house. How am I going to have her on my TikTok? I've never said their names or anything about them personally or their private information. I don't even know anything about them. All I'm doing is telling my story and what's happening to me, how I'm being harassed, how she's harassing my family. So my TikTok is about me and my story. If anybody is putting anybody on record, it's her recording my children and recording minors. The audacity, right? Seriously, can't make this stuff up, guys. At least this time, though, the officer did say that he told her not to record my children and any minors.
Oh, good.
Have a good day, guys.
I was gonna say, we have the proofs of her taking pictures of just random kids in golf carts and boats.
My neighbor is a Karen on steroids. She calls the sheriff on us on a virtually daily basis, but this is call 30.
30!
It was actually yesterday
We've hit
that she
30.
called. So yesterday's call was because my son was fishing with jug lines, and for those of you who don't know what jug lines are, it's basically these lines you put in the water that's attached to either, like, say, an old milk jug or an old water bottle, and a line hangs down. You put bait on the hook and it naturally catches fish. It's free flowing, so it flowed down and got caught into her fence in the water. For those of you who don't know what fence I'm talking about, it's this one here.
The
As
stupid
he was
fence.
untangling his line in the fence, she happened to be cutting grass and started freaking out, saying that to get on his side of the fence. He tried to explain to her that he was trying to untangle his line from her fence and that the pirogue that he was in wouldn't fit on the other side. And before he could finish or explain to her what he was doing, not that it mattered because he was in the water, never on her physical land itself, but before he could finish explaining, she runs inside, literally runs inside to call the sheriff.
Apparently she made it such a
my
big deal
God.
that 2 sheriffs had to come out. So 2 units came out yesterday. The officer told me that she wanted to press charges and against my 13-year-old. He explained to her that he could not see a reason to press charges, but he would send it over to his detectives to make that determination. As mad as I am, there's no use of me trying to get back at her or yell at her or get angry.
No.
Because clearly
It's
she's not in
pointless.
her right mind. Clearly none of her family
You're
is.
dealing with like a narcissist.
She has 3 adult children living in her house. I'm sure that's frustrating enough. Then she sits at home all day. She doesn't work. She has nothing better to do than watch what I do. I'm sure she's pretty jealous of the fact that we have a outgoing family and doing things as a family all the time. They don't seem to really do a whole lot, and no one comes over. They don't go anywhere. She literally sits in her house all day, every day. Our neighbor claimed that our driveway was on her property and we were going to have to move it. Our driveway's on the left, hers is on the right. Both of our homes have been here 30 plus years. She also claimed that one of our trees was hers and she was going to build a bridge to maintain it. The big one right there in the corner, she said was hers. How do we know this? Well, because we had already had the neighbors call the police on us several times. So we wanted to make sure we're having people over. We wanted to make sure that we knew where the property lines were. And we already had a copy of our survey that was listed in MLS when we purchased our home from many years ago. And so we get out there, we get a metal detector, us and our friends, and we're measuring. And here she comes, just yelling, saying, "What are we doing? We're on her property." We're like, "No, ma'am, here's our survey," that she refused to look at. So she goes back inside, calls the police as usual, and says that it looks like a...
You could have a survey and a caring neighbor still will not care. They don't care. Unless it says what they wanted to say, they don't care.
Public beach out there, officer, and there are so many kids and they're all swimming in the water. My water. She, the following week, had an actual survey done and learned that the property line stops shortly before it meets the road, and it's also a servitude there, and she could not own our driveway, nor could she have us move it. And she did not own the tree that she claimed to own. In fact, she owned less land than she originally thought. But all this got me thinking. My kids and their friends loved the river and loved to play out there and swim and hang out. So I'm thinking, what if we put a beach out there? Had some sand, put in a launch. We should. I'm thinking that would be really nice.
100%.
And the kids would really enjoy it. What are your thoughts?
I think that's a great idea because I want to use your beach, to be honest.
Hey TikTokers, if you saw my video from yesterday with the audio recording of my neighbors, this is part 2 of that. She's tried to press charges on my 13-year-old. She was adamant about it. It's kind of where we've drew the line, and after 3 years of harassment has decided this is enough.
Guys, there is a note here that the part 1 video was flagged on TikTok and removed, so we're only catching part 2.
Oh, right there, sir. If you go down to the concrete over there, okay, that's where I went. He was in here. He was behind the mayhaw tree trying to pick up a water bottle. And I thought, oh, my God. I can't
He's just trying to pick up a piece of trash?
Yes. And normally I would say, sir, good thing, right? But the history between us and what has happened, he knows not to come on this property. I'm fine. I want press charges. Fine. Whatever. I'm pressing charges. I am done. They have done nothing but
Is that the younger one or the older one?
This is the older one. This is like the 13.
Pressing charges.
Here she talks about that I lied about something, but she couldn't remember what it was.
She was said yesterday. She lied again yesterday because that's going to the lawyer. That's all that stuff's going on because I know you can't do anything about that.
Right.
But
Yeah, that would be a civil issue.
that's a civil issue. But this is criminal. This is criminal.
My son in the water getting his jug line is criminal.
Criminal.
And we were told by a lawyer every time they
Criminal.
do it, he's trespassing. That means she gets fined.
I wonder if she's explained to her lawyer what my kids are doing.
She knows better. They both know.
You're also looking at putting on record, or you would attempt to be put on record.
I'm gonna skip over this. This is from yesterday.
Document everything.
I get it.
And so we documented that he was in our water. If he cannot, I'm sorry, sir. I don't know what else to do. We are being harassed by them on social
Would you
media.
just want the documentation to bring to your lawyer that we came out here and that he was there, versus trying to put criminal charges on a 13-year-old kid's record?
Well, I mean, that gets expunged anyway when he's older. I see.
Freaking believable. Unbelievable that she would even think that way.
It's still, not necessarily, but it could also still inhibit a lot of things too. It could still really screw up a kid's life.
It's not fair what he's doing to us. It's not fair with their parents. They're using their kids to do this stuff, and it's not fair.
I really appreciate the officer trying to explain to her what she's attempting to try to do. Unfortunately, she can't see that. She doesn't understand that for some reason, that this could really hinder my son from doing things in the future, all because he was getting his fishing line out of her fence in the water while he was in his P-row at 13 years old. It's unbelievable. And this is why we've had enough.
I've had enough, and I'm not even involved, and my patience and anger is up to friggin' here, let me tell you. And you guys, there is about, I don't even want to scare you, but she has an 85-part series on all of this. So we're gonna have to do a part 2 to continue on, because I'm invested and I want to get caught up to date. Where are we at now? We're gonna get there. Stay classy out there. Stay sassy. I'll see you tomorrow.